Hello, welcome back. We're at the end of the month for October, and once again more video recordings of our deck techs for Lost of Caverns of Ixalan, but this time we're going to delve back again for the Pauper Legacy format, and we call this deck feature for this video the Urzatron Control by Thais Vieira. So this is one of the recently posted, I think not really recently, but one of the tournament results posted from the top 8, which we had applied and pasted here at the website Architect. So we're going to explore this kind of archetype, which we're going to have for the control setup as what would be a proper control deck would look like. And one of the suggestions is using these awesome Tron lands, Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, and Urza's Tower. So for the rundown of the card types, we have 7 artifacts, 22 instants, 7 creatures, 21 lands, and 3 sorcery, along with a 15 card sideboard. So what do overview of what this deck would function is that we're just really going to set up the Urza lands while also controlling the board and preventing damage in the form of Moment's Peace, while also having card draw effects. So there's this one which also gets you to ramp some beneficial card specific match up, and then also gaining life in the form of Pulse of Narasa, Weather the Storm, and also having them to return later on with the Mnemonic Wall. So what does each of the card would let's say have its specific use? So first off, here's the copy of Relic of Progenitus. This would mean that not only going to do with the matchup against the Dimir Terror deck, but also gets you to draw a card if needed in certain situations. So that's one copy. We have 4 copies of Energy Factor from Brothers War. This is just a 2-drop cantrip, which can also do some fix by paying to add 1 mana of any color. We have 2 copies of Network Terminal. This is from Kamigawa and Dynasty. Now this is also a 3 mana cost artifact that can add mana of any color and can also have you to pay 1 tap, tap another, and tap artifact you control, and then draw a card and then discard a card. So other situations you can also have this one as a sort of a filter to your hand by drawing a card and discarding a card in the process. Now for the creatures, as why they were chosen to be specifically functioning here in this deck is this one, the Mnemonic Wall. It's looking to be like a 5 to cast wall, which just a 0/4 would not really matter, but its ability that when it enters the battlefield, you may return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is very relevant given that you have basically 22 instants and 3 sorceries at your disposal that you can target with the wall. So that is 3 copies, and along with it, of course, is the card draw effect with the Mulldrifter. You can evoke it for 3 to draw you 2 cards, but in the late game, hard casting it for 5 gets you a 2/2 flyer and also giving you 2 cards in the process. It can be later on blink by this ability, wherein you can ghostly flicker them, exiling 2 target artifacts, creatures, and or lands, and then returning those to the battlefield under your control. So for the instance, as we check on, I mentioned earlier, we have damage prevention effects. So that is 4 copies of your Moment's Peace, wherein it will prevent all damage, combat damage specifically this turn, and then can be flashed back for 3. We have also card draw in the form of Impulse, wherein you can dig out top 4 cards for specific cards depending on your board state or any given scenario. We have a copy of Rust. So this would also go to countering target artifact effect and those that required an activation cost. This is a good interrupt from Legends. We have also a copy of Ephemerate. This would also have to go well with the wall because you can exile target creature you control and then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with the bonus rebound for this one. And functionality, we have 3 copies of Interpretation for you to be able to assemble your Tron lands. You just need to sacrifice a land and then search the library for a land card and put that card into the battlefield. So with that of the land set up, we have some more of the last gain effects and counterspells, of course. 2 copies of Prohibit. This goes with the countering spell with converted mana cost 2 or less and given a kicker for mana cost of 4 or less instead. 2 copies of Weather the Storm. This is just a storm, gain 3 life with the storm effects, and goes well with if you cast for example an interrupt and follow up by Weather the Storm, or a Moment's Peace follow up with Weather the Storm. Can also gain you 3 life and more for each of the storm copies. And this one also would act as a sweep because the 3 to cast instant deals 2 damage to each non-dragon creature. And again, most is flicker and a copy of Pulse of Morasa. This is also goes well to return a creature card or land card from your graveyard to its owner's hand. And you will also gain 6 life in the process. Another life gain effect which goes well with this. And 2 copies of Mystical Teachings. So these teachings would also be able for you to search for an instant or card will flash, reveal it and put it in your hand, and then you can also flashback it for 6. So with the instance targets here, you can basically have a lot of your options here. Also in the sideboard wherein you can also get to tutor with the teachings in the post sideboarded games. Now for your sorcery, they have a copy here of Rolling Thunder. This would deal X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creature and player. So this would go well in the late game, wherein you can just fireball-ish your opponent to the dome for X damage, given that you have basically assembled all of your Tron lands, so you have a lot of mana to spare to pay for X, and later on can also be returned by the wall to deal the exact damage and more damage if needed to your opponent. Then we also have a copy of Compulsive Research. This can also a good card effect. Discard only 2 cards unless you discard a land card, but the good thing is that you will draw 3 cards in the process. And also a copy of Lord and Rebuild. This is from Lord of the Rings set, but the good thing is that you can island cycling for 1, but the main purpose here is that you can just pay 5 to draw 3 cards for the setup. And your land, as you can see here, aside from the Tron lands, that's 12, we have a lot of fix in the blue-green. That's Stormwood Falls 3 copies, Tangled Islet 1 copy that can also be tutored by the Lord and Rebuild. We have also 3 Sea Gate. That's the gate that can add 1 mana in chosen color or color other than blue as you choose it. We have a copy of Island and a copy of Bojoka Bog as a sort of good target for crop rotation in case that there are situations that you would need to exile a graveyard as it enters the battlefield. And last but not least, for a sideboard, just a quick rundown of the sideboard. We have a color specific card housers. We have 4 copies of Hydroblast against red, that's countering a red spell or destroying a red permanent. We have a Pyroblast again, that's 4 copies, countering a spell that is blue or destroying target permanent that is blue. And we have a copy of Ancient Garage for the affinity matchups, additional Weather the Storm for maybe for the Boros Burn or other mono red bird decks. We have also a copy of Breath Weapon, additional way to deal with maybe with the tokens matchup. A copy of Exclude to counter specific creature spell and also drawing your card. 2 copies of Ballistic Circle that can also prevent a choice of damage that would be dealt to you this turn. And that's basically it. With the last copy is a Blue Elemental Blast that can specifically handle your matchup against red based decks. And for the mana curve, it's surprisingly average just 2.72 with only 21 lands at your disposal, but you can still have a lot of card effects that can get you to your lands. The most number of mana value is 17 under the 2 mana value, and is followed by 5 mana value, and that's 8. And also for 3 and 1, 6 each for the total. Color distribution is mostly green and blue, but we have a little of white and red here, and the color producer are pretty much even. But the important here is that you can just establish your blue and green colors so that the deck would function later on. That's the mana fix will just be done by these specific cards that is added in this deck. So I guess that's pretty much it for this Urzatron control. If you are yet to play for MTGO Pauper event or in your local game store, I would suggest this build, and we can still have a good discussion how this would fare in the metagame that's expected in the Pauper Legacy format. And of course, you can also get to adjust your sideboards as it fit now for your local game store meta game setup. So I guess that's pretty much it for this our Urzatron Legacy Pauper deck tech. Thank you for checking out this video, and see you guys on the next one.